Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be breaking down a tech house track. I took a track from producer Matroda and KLP called Bullshit as a reference and wanted to make something in a similar style. All the samples and preset you'll see in this video will be available on my Patreon, so yes, you can find all the materials there. Let's start, I suppose, with the main elements in tech house track. That's kick, snares, hats, all the drums, and of course the bass. Not that many key elements on one hand, but we need them to all sound tasty and interesting together. Anyway, let's get started. The kick, I found the sample in the EVA Sounds library. Here's how it sounds stock. Initially, as you can see, I shortened it a bit. FL Studio now has this feature where you can move samples a bit. I used to do this with the LFO tool. The kick goes to the third channel and overall the processing will be minimal. I tried to choose good samples. Here I have small boost around 170 Hz, around 940 Hz, but it's not particularly crucial. I did it to my taste and only kind of together with other instruments that sounds in the arrangement, like the kick together with the bass and the other hats. Here's our kick. At the beginning, in its transient, there's this pew pew sound like shooting from a blaster. Let's move straight to the bass then. My bass is quite simple. Here's how it sounds together with the kick. If you listen to the reference, there's nothing fancy, nothing super complicated in the rhythm of our bass. It's just some standard 8 notes, no super strong note runs or something. I'm simply writing in E minor probably, so my main note is the note E. Here's our pattern in the piano roll, and accordingly the bass itself, which is a preset, I decided not to start from scratch. Actually, in tech house everything is quite simple. We have 1 or 2 oscillators, usually it's a saw wave. We drop it down as many octaves as needed to make it sound good as a bass. The most important thing probably is the amplitude envelopes, because it's important that the kick and bass work together so they don't conflict, so the bass is the right length. It doesn't intrude on the kick, but on the other hand, so it's not lacking in the mix. You can do this with our amplitude envelope and with the filter envelope. We took a filter, throw an envelope on it and get a plug-like sound. Here there's also a layered square wave. There's a cool feature now in Serum that you can high pass any oscillator, which is very convenient. Let me run through the processing. Here they are. I think I changed something in this preset. I can't say for sure now. Anyway, yes, quite simple, nothing super complicated. As you can see, the preset itself is velocity sensitive. We threw velocity on the cutoff and the resonance. Accordingly, if I press a note quietly on my MIDI keyboard, I'll get such a muffled, deep, cool sound, but if you press hard, we get this effect. This can be conveniently used in automation, which is what I did. As you can see, the notes are not static. At one press strength, they are slightly different. If they were completely static, the bass would sound a bit boring. To add such small randomness chance, I like to play a bit with velocity. The bass has only sidechain on it. Nothing endless smile, purely for automation in the build-up. My kick and bass go to a channel called kick plus bass. And here we have just a filter that cuts low frequencies in some places. Together with the bass, by the way, this FM sound plays some wobble dubstep sound that you can easily find somewhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter, it's quiet and just plays one note somewhere between the bass to add a bit of character to our sound. Forgot to say that I also use pitch bend in the bass. For example, at this moment you can hear there's such a small movement downward, also to add movement to our bass. Let's move on to the clap, to the snare. Here there are a lot of layering, actually not that much, but enough. I found this snare sound sharp, very punchy. To make it punch through the mix even more, I added this clap. They go to the same channel for me, which is called Clap&Snare. I added Camel Crusher here to compress the sound a bit, make it more punchy in the mix. And also here, as you can see, sometimes I add a clap between snares to add a bit of variety too. All this can be done purely at your discretion. I did this based on what I got in the track, looking at the reference, because tech house is a genre that predominantly about the rhythm. And you need to make it so the listener wants to dance. You need to try placing different percussions, heads at your discretion. Let's move on to them. The first head I added is this simple 16th head. It goes the most standard pattern. It consists of two sounds such as shaker that I trimmed a bit, and on the offbeat this closed head plays for me, pitched down a bit, standard rhythm. On top of it I found a top loop, but in this top loop there also the same closed head and all that. What you can see, these small sounds between the gaps add a cool groove. But in this loop initially there was a clap that I didn't need. This is the common problem when you find a top loop, you like it, but they have this unnecessary annoying clap or snare, and I just, also with this dumb pitch effect, I decided to remove it like this with LFO tool. On top of this, another head loop, a frequent trend in the current tech house scene, I don't know what else to call it, accent in head loops very often started appearing specifically on the first beat when our kick plays. This can be heard in this. You hear this tss on the first beat where our kick plays. I don't know, this is possibly some homage to the 80s or something, but more and more often I hear tracks with exactly this feature. Nothing processing wise, neither on heads nor on claps, nothing. As I said, I did everything quite quickly, try not to pay attention, just chose like a decent sample and that's it. Here we already have a solid groove. To diversify it again, you can add additional samples like percussions or stuff. What did I do here? I added this ride. As you can hear, it plays at the end of our phrase. I did this to often simulate, you know, a real drum kit, because the head is still one instrument. You press the pedal, it becomes closed, you release the pedal, it becomes open. To simulate this, I make the sample, like sample right in this case. It sounds like this, but FL Studio has a slider that allows you to do time stretch, mess up the sample a bit. I thought, like, why not? Try it, sounds pretty good. Also adds such variety to our rhythm. Between them plays this clave from the 808 drum machine, really just from the 808 drum machine. Processing wise, I'm sure on it, yeah, nothing is there. As I said, tech house is all about rhythm, so for the listener to constantly be attentive, to be involved in the movement of our track, I found a wonderful old library, and in general lately I like to use some old, you know, samples. When I talk about old samples, it's of course Vengeance, and I have this library gathering dust for a long time. I just found this sound, some strange effects. That's literally a folder called FX loops, 128 beats per minute, and from there I grabbed them, threw them into arrangement and added a couple. Cool, sounds pretty juicy, and this one I really like too. Like at the end some phone ring or something. Adjusted it in time with time stretch and made some modulation. Oh, my eyes are going to bleed now. panning modulation. It's so fast that it even turns into some stereo effect. To make small build-ups like this, I decided to go with a trap snare, called it trap snare. You'll understand why, because, you know, welcome to 2012. Such a trap snare on channel 11. You can also choose your rhythm. I think I heard something similar in the reference, and as you can hear, it goes down a pitch a bit, probably somewhere here. This is automated, yes, with pattern control. So I automated the pitch of our snare like this. On the snare we have reverb, add room, and OTT to compress it a bit. Also from the Vengeance library, but the vocal one, I found these glitch sounds, and this slowly brings us to the main catchy, as I think, moment of this track. It's all kinds of interesting vocal chops, specifically this I didn't chop at all. It already sounded like this in stock. On it, I'm sure there's no processing. Before we move on to the vocal, the tastiest part, this part also plays. This is mid bass preset from the library, also evolution of sounds, some acid sound made from 3 oscillators. I won't dive into the synthesis of the sound because, honestly speaking, I just found this preset and decided to copy the bass part. But so you can see what it's made of, maybe I changed something here, maybe I didn't. I do everything to my taste. The most important thing is to cut the lows, because mid bass, we don't want it to intrude on our main bass here. Anyways, the idea with the sound was to simply copy absolutely the rhythm and melody of our main bass, and at the end of the phrase kind of repeat it, but emphasize it now, make it a small accent. If you can see, if I overlay this rhythm on this, they're absolutely identical. It sounds like this. A couple more FX sounds that also I found in the old Vengeance library. This one, for example, strange stretch sound. In some moments you can also scatter them like this to add a lot of interest to our track. And I really like the sound too, like a blaster shot again, but here it originally sounded like this. I needed to sound a bit longer in the pre-drop, and I decided to make it like this. It's some strange sound, a bit similar to a fart, honestly. And the main probably feature of this whole track is the vocal phrase that I chopped. Basically, I did it absolutely by the reference. I had to find some sample, found this one, also from Vengeance. It's on the 13th channel. Let me turn off all the processing.
Here we go again,
Here at the drop of the second part already, and if you also turn on the effects, it turns out
Here we go again.
I don't know, a bit silly of course, but how modern tech house sounds is basically quite authentic. So what did I do again? I took this vocal and started cutting it into small pieces, absolutely manually, not with some shaper box or something else. As you can see in the drop, these pieces are of slightly different lengths, placed in different places, and you do all this based on your arrangement, how you built the groove. Here I took, for example, I take the sample, changing its lengths. In FL Studio you hold Alt plus Shift and start scrolling with the mouse over the sample like this. You can scroll, find some interesting moments, and basically I did everything by intuition. And all this is supported by an effect until the drop itself. My vocal sounds quite clean.
Here we go again.
So that in the drop, when we have hi-hats, I wanted these vocal fragments to be kind of without high frequencies, but to have its own such aesthetics. I don't know of something dirty, I found a preset in Echo Boy called Vocal Distorter, but it's literally just a distortion. I like how it sounds. Actually, I added it. These vocal chops are just scattered through the drop. Also, probably it's important to find exactly the right sounds, because here honestly it's hard to understand what's mumbled from the words, but probably that's the whole point. Processing wise, I also have Shaper Box here. It works as a panning automator, so the sound itself isn't just in the center, but so it kind of walk around. You hear that a bit from my left ear to the right, and here at 41%. Round reverb, don't know why I used it, could have used standard. OTT to compress and remove the lows, and that's how we get our vocal. Let's finish by running through the build-up. In the build-up, everything is quite easy, as you can hear. Here, before the drop, I added this synthesizer that plays chords, consists of 2 layered sounds. The first is chords, also from the same library. How it looks, what processing is here. Honestly, I won't go into the sound design in it, how it was made. I just found it myself, programmed it. I think many of you have heard this sound. It's often used in tech house, everywhere, some similar sounds. By itself, it sounds good. I wanted to add something to it, added this sound. This is a very old plugin called Rave Generator. If you write tech house, techno music, then in it you'll find a ton of kinds of synths, samples. You can layer them, stack them, tune them. They just go to the same channel that our bass goes to. Here everything is quite simple. Main note E, up 1, down 2, and we arrange everything by rhythm. As I said at the very beginning of the build-up, there are no low frequencies. All I did was add the snare, I don't know, 909 snare from the Noizu library. Found it, I'll make pitch automation so it builds up actually. And on the 18th channel there's no processing. If you open the channel itself with the snare, you see that here I applied a swing effect, pressed Alt plus Q, you can choose groove, swing, so that it doesn't sound static. So there are also some such, I don't know, interesting features. How else explain it? Basically, swing sounds good on a snare during a build-up in tech house music. And to support all this, I very often use string samples, and in many recordings tracks, especially in build-ups, all sort of similar strings are used, and a riser, of course. Just a couple words about mastering. I didn't do any mastering, like nothing, just a TG is on it to add a bit of stereo at 1.6 and a limiter. That's it, nothing else. So I hope you enjoyed the video, such a small quick breakdown of tech house. Like if you enjoy it. I'll be glad if you subscribe to my channel. As I said, all materials will be on my Patreon, these presets, samples. In any case, you'll find something interesting there for yourself. Thank you once again for watching, good luck, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.